Hey, Broke World Entertainment, and we're gonna have a non-spoiler review for the brand new remake Roadhouse, now available on Amazon. Yes, Amazon. This thing is not coming out on the big screen, which director Doug Lynam isn't happy about. Is it worthwhile? Would it have been a big success on the big screen? To be honest, I don't really know whether it would have been a hit on the big screen. Personally, after watching it, I think it would have done fine. I don't think it would do great. So, is it a straight up remake? Yes and no. It's not the case of him being a bouncer already. It's very different in that sense because he's a former UFC fighter who ends up becoming like a drifter and ends up getting offered a job. Kind of rejects it to start with, but ends up going out there. You never actually told flat out that the job is a bouncer. And even when he gets there, it's not quite a bouncer. He's more of like an enforcer as such. He kind of watches things happen in the bar and then intervenes, but he also kind of hires a couple people and starts kind of giving them confidence in pushing it through to be bouncers, basically. And then there's a few other little kind of side stories, which is very strange. Now, there's as many nitpicks about this movie as there is praise for it. The first thing, and this is weird because it's been a long time since I've watched a movie that has done this, where I've watched it and said, this is actually quite good, while at the same time saying parts of this don't make sense and are terrible. In terms of the story is, and plot, is wafer thin. I'm talking, it's so thin, it's translucent. It is that small. And it kind of flips here and there every now and again. If you're going to watch this movie for Conor McGregor, don't hold your breath because he's barely in it, and you're literally an hour into the movie before he even shows up. He's also terrible in the movie. There's going to be a lot of people who think he's great in it. He's terrible. It's like he's playing and he is basically playing a completely over-exaggerated version of himself, and it doesn't quite work. It's like they were tricked into having to use him by being told, hey, you can use the UFC official stuff, you know, but you have to pick a UFC fighter to be in your movie. And they just went, we want someone eccentric, pick Conor McGregor. He also has this weird walk where invisible lat syndrome doesn't hold a candle to him. I swear to God, it's like he's carrying 2 suitcases under his arms for the entire movie when he's in it. The other letdown with this, yes, I'm going over a couple of the nitpicks first, is the ending. Again, I won't spoil it, it's just the ending is stupid. And then there's a mid-credit scene that completely undoes the end as well. You'll see what I mean when you watch it. And where is the mid-credit scene? Once the movie ends, it does that kind of showing you previous scenes of the movie while it gives you the names of the directors and writers and stuff. Once the image part of that stops, you get the mid-credit scene. It's about, 2 minutes in, maybe 3, before you get the mid-credit scene. There's no post-credit scene or anything, just that mid-credit scene. But the ending is stupid. Not with our main character, not with Jake Gyllenhaal's Dalton. It's kind of how the story gets wrapped up is stupid. And then that mid-credit scene spoils that as well. Then the other issue I have is the actual story parts of it in terms of wrapping stuff up and sorting things out. They don't. They kind of leave things unanswered. You know, this is what you're being told here, but you never get a conclusion to that. You know, this happens here, but it's kind of just brushed aside very easily. It's a bit of an issue. And it all kind of comes full circle by the end when you get what you'll see what I mean when you watch it. If you watch it. The biggest issue I have with this movie is the actual fighting. Now, you're thinking, how could fight scenes be like your biggest issue? Are they just that bad or something? They don't look real. This sounds weird. They actually do not look real. It's either CG, like they've actually either just CG'd the people in there, or the fight scenes were that slow that they sped them up, but then tried to blend it into the normal surrounding or something. It's so off-putting once you see it. The very first fight you see, it's the very beginning of the movie. It's Post Malone and some other guy. By the way, Post Malone, people go, oh yeah, he's in that, isn't it? Yeah, he's barely in it. And when I say barely, I mean he's in the first 2 minutes of the movie. Says one thing that you can barely hear, and that's it, he's done. He's just meant to be this underground fighter. But he's doing the fight, and you never really seen the fight up close until you do. And he gets the guy against the ropes, and it becomes like a Marvel movie where you know the person in the suit, whether it's the Hulk or something, is digital. And you're like, hang on, why does it look like that? But every fight scene looks like that. It is so bizarre. I don't know what way they did it or how they did it, but it's off-putting, and it makes the fights look digital. And it's an issue. It's a big issue for a movie that's meant to be about the fights, really. It's so strange. And they do this kind of where it's meant to be a tracking shot, like where they're trying to make the fight look like it's one take, and it doesn't work. And then they do one really weird one where the fight is happening, but then it goes into POV for it, and you look like you're being attacked, and it was so jarring. So the fights are a couple of them are okay. You know, the actual way the fight is okay, and the reason it's happening, it still looks digital. It's so strange. Now, the best thing of this movie, without a shadow of a doubt, is Jake Gyllenhaal. He is by far the best part, and the only truly good thing of this movie. He plays Dalton. He always has this smile on his face. He tries to be very polite, all this stuff. He arrives in the Keys, the Florida Keys. That's where this is set. You know, he gets off a bus, and the first person he meets is a girl called Charlie, who works in a bookstore with her father, who asks him, did he see Freddy the tree on his way in? There's a tree growing on one of the old bridges, and there's a kind of a relationship there, a tiny bit. As I said, that half of this stuff with the story kind of gets set up and never executed and stuff, so this is one of them, this kind of relationship with this kid. But he just has this weird swagger to him. The humor works. There's a lot of humor in this, but it's kind of that weird sarcastic-y kind of humor which works, and it all works from Jake Gyllenhaal. But you also get that issue with the story, because when he takes the job, his first night there, a bunch of a-holes come in, and you're being basically shown that these are going to be your a-holes of the movie that work for our big bad. And they are for half the movie, until they are not and taken out and Conor McGregor is put in. And it's kind of like, that's a weird shift you did there. You know, you're setting these ones up, now they're gone, and you're giving us him, but you're bringing some of them back. It was weird the way that was done. So as I said, you can see where I'm talking about, where it's enjoyable, but at the same time there's a lot of issues with it, which is also why I say, if it was on the big screen, would it have worked? It's very hard to tell whether it would. I think the ending would have let the movie down on the big screen and stuff like that. But over and all, you can enjoy this movie. There's a lot of people who will love Conor McGregor in it, and they'll praise the movie because of that. I think he's terrible in it. From my point of view, and this is only my point of view, he's terrible and should never have been cast in this movie. Again, Post Malone, if people are expecting a lot of him, one scene and he's out at the very beginning. Story, wafer thin, it's anorexic. It's that thin. It's very, very simple. And has, the big bad's motive. Well, he's actually the big bad off a big bad, which is also something that doesn't get resolved and stuff, or at least explained, which you would see what I mean. Because I'm trying to say this without spoiling it, but his motives are never actually learned until halfway into the movie, and you're like, that's it? That's all his motive is? Jake Gyllenhaal's trying to work out why these people keep coming to the bar and cause trouble, and you're thinking it has to be something really big and dark and stuff, and it's like something so simple. But he's never even told, like Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Dalton, he's never actually told why these people keep coming or anything like that. And you're not even sure if half the people in the movie know why it's happening. It's very strange. But overall, Jake Gyllenhaal does carry this movie. Is it his best performance he's ever given, like the director said? No. I've definitely seen better from him. But it's definitely up there. It's definitely a great performance from him. He is the one tether in the entire thing that keeps you invested and makes you enjoy what's happening. It's just everything else is kind of a bit weird. But anyway, that is Roadhouse, the remake, now available on Amazon, so you can check it out whenever you feel like it. You don't have to go to the cinema to see it. So with that, I will leave it there for this one. So cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.